Look back at the rest of the weekend, and a great weekend for Arsenal.
I mean, to be fair, you think of magical Premier League moments. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I felt a little bit emotional watching that last night, just for the young kid. It was really, really special, that. Special in a number of ways. One, the celebration, just the players on the pitch, the way in which, that's how football should be. The exceptional technique of the goal, which, to be fair, I've not heard too many people talk about, but maybe it has been talked about and I've not been watching. But the head, then the little touch with the left foot, but then the right foot, the two touches with his right foot, his opposite foot, then the next touch with his left foot and his left foot. He's touched all parts of his body to score that goal whilst gliding forward and moving with the ball. I thought it was an absolute beautiful goal. You need to be exceptional to be able to do that. He made it look so easy that it looked like anybody could do it. But honestly, there are very few who could do that. And to do it at 16 and become the Premier League's youngest ever goal scorer, and at a point where Arsenal needed it most, it felt like a defining moment in Arsenal's modern history. One, because they've produced a player that's done something exceptional on an individual level that's never been done before at that age. But secondly, that they've not won a title for 22 years. And that just will be, the picture, that will be the sort of the showcase moment, the video that gets played back when we sort of go at the end of the season into the Monday Night Football studio and we'll look back at the big moments of the season. It will be that moment and that celebration that I'm sure will be shown. Long way to go yet, not done, but it just felt like a pivotal moment and it was really special. I have to say, we can sometimes sit here and say that football, it maybe doesn't produce as exceptional a moments as it did, and you think of the Aguero goal 14 years ago now, or you think of the Van Persie volley here when Manchester United won the league in Sir Alex Ferguson, you think of Steve Bruce's headers. You think of the big, massive moments of teams winning Premier League titles and where those defining moments are. And that just felt to me like it was a difficult game for Arsenal. It was a real struggle all the way through. And they didn't play badly in the game, Arsenal, but Everton did really well and they've been good away from home. But just felt it was a magical moment for Max Dowman, a magical moment for Arsenal. And I absolutely, it stopped me in my tracks. To be fair, I was sat in my kitchen table watching in the chair that I always watch matches. And it was enough for me to actually call my wife over to say, just come and watch this, because I actually thought it was that big a moment. She was actually in the next room and I just shouted, I said, come and watch this. And this young kid's just scored a goal. He's 16, same age as our daughter. I'm like, that can't happen. She's doing her GCSEs in 2 months and this kid's doing his GCSEs in 2 months and he's doing that in the Premier League, and it was really, really a beautiful moment.
But how carefully do you have to manage him after that? Because, we've seen people like Charlie Patino come there as the next big thing and then has sort of disappeared. We've had Waneri come through as a young player and he's now gone out on loan. Miles Lewis-Skelly, who came into the scene, hasn't been as involved this year. So how much of a difficult balancing act is it with Max Dowman from now on?
Look, I've seen this a lot in my life, thankfully, luckily, the emergence of Ryan Giggs as a 16-year-old, David Beckham's goal at Wimbledon, which, to be fair, lit up the whole country and put him into the spotlight. The Wayne Rooney introduction for England, and obviously he was at Everton at the time. He scored that volley against Arsenal, but then got pretty quickly with Wayne Rooney with England and obviously with United. Michael Owen's goal with England against Argentina, I was on the pitch. I've seen this before where Dele Alli, I think. I've seen it with Federico Makeda. Here, that goal against Aston Villa. And I've seen it where it works and I've seen it where it doesn't work, where it doesn't quite follow up into something sort of what would be really spectacular that you think is going to happen. Ravel Morrison, I think, is someone as well that had exceptional talent. Maybe didn't have a moment like that, but was talked about in the same way. Look, this kid does look different. He looks like he's got a composure and a temperament that's right. It doesn't look like he's going to get carried away by things. But when you're 16, and I always remember going into the dressing room, first team dressing room for the first time at 18 at Manchester United, when you first start going and changing with them, and looking at Steve Bruce and Brian Robson and Eric Cantona and thinking, they've been doing this for 16, 17, 18 years. And Max Dowman's in that dressing room and he's done it for a few months. And he should really keep his feet on the ground, and I'm sure he will. And I'm sure everybody will be working hard with him, his parents, his family, everybody at Arsenal, because he's got 20 years before he's made it. I always used to say, you've only made it in football when you get to the end. That's it. You know, if you're really going to be one of the very top players and you're going to get to the top, be a top player in professional football at a club like this or at Arsenal or at Liverpool, you've never really accepted that you've made it. You can never feel that you've made it and you've climbed the mountain until that moment when you retire. So he's got 20 years in front of him to get to that point. So right now, it's about basically just doing the same things that he's been doing that's got him into that position that he's currently in. Having sensible people around him, good accountant, good lawyer, good advice from his parents, making sure that you restrict access to certain things that you know could distract him. I'm not going to name what those things are, but, you know, be a 16-year-old kid that has access to things that 16-year-old kids would ordinarily have access to. Work hard every single day and match the work ethic of Bukayo Saka, of Martin Odegaard, of Declan Rice. He's got good examples in that dressing room. Forget Saliba and Gabriel and maybe some of the more experienced. I know Saliba's not, but Gabriel's more experienced. Zubimendi. You know, players, just look at... I used to look at the others around me in my dressing room and you had nowhere to go. Because if you've been playing for 10 years and they've got a lot of money in the bank and they've got a fancy car and they've got a big house and they played for the country 50, 60, 70 times and they've won medals for their country and they won World Cups or European Championships and things like that, look at them, because they're the lads that really, to be fair, are doing it still every single day. There's no let-up with this. You know, there's no easy shortcut or route to the end for Max Dowman, but it's a beautiful moment for him. He obviously didn't do any interviews after the game last night, which I think is completely and utterly acceptable. I think that, to be fair, it was right that I think Gyökeres did the interview I saw at the end of the match and actually wondered whether Max Dowman would do the interview, and I waited on to see whether he would, and he didn't do it. And I think that's absolutely right, to keep him away from it. Try and keep him off social media. I've spoken to a lot of players in the last few months about how they need to manage modern media. So you're talking about sort of keeping him away from sort of what would be the headlines and sort of the interviews. That's easy for the Arsenal communications department. Keep him away from social media, because it sounds crazy, but even when it's like that, which it will have been last night, you know, Max Dowman was a god on social media last night, but he'll be the devil at some point. He'll miss a penalty. He'll get injured. He'll maybe get sent off and then react at a certain point in his career. And then you'll be on the other side of it. So you want to try as a football player to try and get rid of the roller coaster. And it is a roller coaster as a football player. You're young, you're full of adrenaline, you're full of fire, you're full of wanting to play, you've got massive ego, you've got massive confidence, you believe you're the best, but you still need to keep as much as possible on that level ground and try and keep away from the roller coaster. That's people around him, but that's also, I think, things that maybe he can do to help himself and deal with things in a way which means that he can just go home and have his cheat meal on a Saturday night, like his pizza, with calm. Because I'm sure when he walks down the street in the next few weeks, he's going to get a lot of love. But yeah, he's got some good people around him at that club. I think, Declan Rice, I think Bukayo Saka, Zubimendi, there's lots of them. Odegaard. I never look at any of those players and think they're arrogant, they get carried away, they're big-headed. I think they're just really good lads who I see working hard every single week. All of them, really. I don't see any sort of players in the Arsenal squad that I look at and think, oh, they don't work hard, or they do my head in. They're all, really good professionals. At times you might not think that they're playing the best or whatever, but they're brilliant professionals and they're a good group.
Talking about professionals who've seen it and done it, Manchester City, bad week for them. How important now is the Carabao Cup final with the Champions League hopes hanging by a thread and the inexplicable, really, drop points against Forest and West Ham?
Yeah, and it was a mauling in Madrid. That'll have hurt them. We had moments like that where you're the kings of England. I mean, I know they're not at the moment, or Liverpool are, but Pep Guardiola will feel like he's the king of England in the sense of how many titles he's won. And to go there in such a showpiece game and have a mauling like that against you will have hurt them badly. So it didn't surprise me fully last night, and I watched the game against West Ham, and look, City are going to dominate possession. They're going to be probably the better team, and they are the better team. But it was a big night. what Max Dowman did, what Arsenal did, and then what happened after that with City, you're right, they're dropping points, they're making mistakes that you wouldn't ordinarily associate with them, and they've been doing that for quite a while now this season. And I've not thought they're going to get over the line for quite a while because they're just not quite there. There's something missing this season. I don't know what it is. Doesn't mean to say that they can't do it in this last 8 games because they're capable of ridiculous things, Pep Guardiola teams. They will respond, they will fight back, they're not going to give in. They don't do that. And like the Arsenal players that I've just talked about, these aren't, professionals that sort of, drop below sort of what would be their work ethic. They do fight every single week, but sometimes that game in midweek, they set up to go and take Madrid on, I think, pound for pound, or punch for punch, didn't they? And they got wounded. And I think that will have shot them. That really will have shot them. It'll take them a bit to get over. But they've got a week now, haven't they? Oh, they've got the game in midweek against Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. But they've got a final next week. So they've got 2 massive matches. And you haven't got time at a big club when you're playing in these types of matches to get 2 down. And they've got an opportunity to turn it around. They could end up this week doing very well against Real Madrid. I don't think they'll go through, but they could end up having a fantastic game. And they could end up with a medal round this time next week. So that would be an exceptional week for them off the back of a bad one. But the league title does feel to me like it's just slipping away.
Winning everything, then it's easy to hold them.
But that's a great point. And let's get back to the one you made as well. Mikel Arteta didn't bring him on at 3-0 up with 5 minutes to go to try and give him a goal yesterday. They were at 0-0 and not looking like scoring in a crucial game in the title race. He turned to him.
He brought him on to change the game around, and that's what he did. Not only with the goal what he scores when Pickford comes up the field, Pickford comes flying out to a cross. It was a fantastic cross. It was deep into the penalty area. He's no need to come. There's too much pace on the delivery. So he gets off to a good start anyway, but he's not satisfied with that. He just wants to make himself the superstar. I'm really interested to know, Michael, who was key, who's pivotal to you keeping your feet on the floor at that age? Was it your family or from within the club?
I think your family as you're growing up. Of course, I was very fortunate. My dad was a professional footballer himself. He knew the ropes. So in terms of having that family structure and not getting too big for your boots, I think that was really important. But then you go into a senior team. And again, the traits that you've picked from your family, your friends, carry you through because, I had these big names, the John Barnes, the Robbie Fowlers, the Steve McManamans in the team already and plenty of others. It's impossible. It's impossible with the right dressing room that you can get too big for your boots. I was still as Steve mentioned before, I won the Golden Boot in my first season at 17 and then again at 18. Tim, I was still scared of changing my car. And I was a 2-time Golden Boot winner because Robbie Fowler was still in the team. Yeah. I'd be like, I don't, even though I was playing then and Robbie wasn't necessarily as much as me, I wouldn't change my car. I wouldn't walk in with a phone. Mobile phones were out then. Everybody else had one. I'm like, no, they'll all think I'm big-headed. I want to stay, and they probably would have. They probably would have clipped me around the ear. So I do think it's really important that you have not just the right people at home, but the right people in the dressing room as well, just policing the whole situation and letting you get on with the football.
Good news is, to this day, Steve McManaman's still looking after you, so you've still got that.
I need it more now than I did then.
Well, let's not go there. Let's look at the remaining fixtures instead between City and Arsenal. Pep Guardiola famously said before the West Ham game, if we drop points, the title is over. Let me tell you, a 9-point gap at this stage or later has only ever been retrieved to go on and win the title once. That was Manuel Pellegrini's Manchester City. So, obviously they have to play each other. They don't play again because of their other cup commitments in the league for 4 weeks because of the international break as well. So they've got plenty of time to stew on that game, Manchester City. But it's only ever been done once. I mean, glimmer of hope for City fans or virtually done and dusted?
Well, virtually done and dusted. I'm not saying that. Let's assume, because it has to happen, that Manchester City beat Arsenal. It has to happen. Now, if they win their game in hand as well, they're only 3 points. Now, can Arsenal drop 3 points out of that fixture list? Yes, they can. They can. So it's not absolutely over. But will Manchester City win every single game from their list? And I think the answer is no. I just don't think they're good enough, really. I don't think they're good enough to win all of those on the spin. They've not done it all season. Why are they going to do it now? And, I mean, the other reason, they do play each other. I can't see Arsenal losing to Manchester City. I think they're a very, very stubborn, strong team. And so there is a chink of light, Steve, but it's not going to happen. It's Arsenal's now. Tim?
And they're playing the cup final next Sunday, don't they, as well, against each other. So I just think Man City might win that one, the cup final, but I don't see them winning the Premier League. I think that's going to be red and white ribbons on that cup, and very, very soon. I don't think. I honestly believe when they go to the Etihad, I don't think Arsenal will get beat.